News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Denise Pellegrini. President Trump's new threatened 30% tariffs on the EU and Mexico this weekend could rattle financial markets. Brussels-based market analyst and advisor on international capital strategies Jacob von Kirkgaard says watch for volatility.
This is kind of a slap in the face, in my opinion.
And Mary Lovely, a senior fellow at the Peterson Institute for International Economics, says the U.S. might be perceived as pushing things too far with these new tariff threats.
Trump administration has made clear to our trading partners that we're not looking for win-win deals. We're looking for win-lose. We want to get and more than we give. In fact, we want to give zero.
And Bloomberg's Kevin Whitelaw says the new tariff threat is probably a disappointment, especially for EU officials who were in the middle of trade negotiations with the U.S. and thought they were making progress.
EU in particular have been hoping that the announcement be about a provisional deal and not another threat.
Meantime, in Mexico, some voicing criticism of the new threatened tariffs, saying President Trump is making a mistake. Here's one with a translator.
I think it's a strategy designed to continue intimidating Mexico and to control us. But it gets us nowhere. It's like shooting himself in the foot. Many of the products we make in Mexico are needed in the United States.
Mexico is projecting confidence it will fend off the new threatened 30% tariffs, with Mexico's president saying she's confident Mexico will get a deal. Investors will be watching a report on consumer inflation in the U.S. Tuesday for any possible sign of the impact of tariffs on prices. Economists say core inflation probably picked up slightly in May for the first time since January. Russia and the war on Ukraine also in focus, with President Trump planning a major Russia statement tomorrow and mulling sanctions as well, according to the president. Trump is criticizing Russian President Vladimir Putin over Russia's continued attacks on Ukraine. President Trump says NATO allies will pay for U.S. arms that will be sent to Ukraine. And NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte will be in the U.S. tomorrow and Tuesday. He'll be meeting with President Trump and also with Secretary of State Marco Rubio and also Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth during that visit. Billionaire Elon Musk calling on President Trump to release what he calls the Epstein files, as the president has previously promised, according to Musk, commenting on X. Yesterday on Truth Social, President Trump defended his Attorney General Pam Bondi's handling of the case and asked everyone on the MAGA team to speak with one voice. All this as the Justice Department and FBI struggle to contain fallout from this week's decision to withhold records from the Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking investigation, and said a client list did not exist, something that rankled influential media personalities and some conspiracy theorists as well who support President Trump. Musk is a former Trump partner, now turned political rival. Epstein, financier and convicted child sex offender, killed himself while awaiting trial on federal sex trafficking charges a few years ago. Elon Musk's SpaceX has reportedly agreed to invest $2 billion in his XAI. Wall Street Journal says that would be nearly half of the recent equity raised by the Grok chatbot makers. The paper also says the SpaceX investment is part of XAI's $5 billion equity raise that Morgan Stanley talked about last month. President Trump says on Truth Social he's considering taking away the U.S. citizenship of actress and comedian Rosie O'Donnell, despite a decades-old Supreme Court ruling that expressly prohibits such an action by the government. Trump says she should stay in Ireland if they want her. The two have criticized each other publicly for years. Grim job of searching for flood victims continues in Central Texas. Kristi Noem, Homeland Security Secretary, supporting President Trump's handling of disaster response. She says how things were handled after the floods in Central Texas is how it should work everywhere.
It should be state managed, which means the state makes the decisions on how they're going to universally handle this disaster. And the federal government, our role should be to support.
And Homeland Security Secretary Noem spoke closing out yesterday's speaker series at the conservative nonprofit Turning Point USA Student Action Summit. A consumer-friendly click-to-cancel rule that was intended to make canceling subscriptions easier has been blocked. Bloomberg's Amy Morris explains.
The click-to-cancel rule would have required businesses to make it easier for consumers to cancel unwanted subscriptions and memberships, but it's been blocked by a court just days before it was set to take effect. The Federal Trade Commission's changes required businesses to disclose when free trials or promotional offers will end and let consumers cancel recurring subscriptions as easily as they started them. The rule was set to take effect this past week, but the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Eighth Circuit said the FTC made a procedural error in its related cost analysis. Amy Morris, Bloomberg Radio.
In Spain, emergency service officials reporting at least 5 people hurt on the 6th day of the running of the bulls through Pamplona streets yesterday. The multi-day event brings thousands of tourists to Spain each year. And that's news when you want it. With Bloomberg News Now, I'm Denise Pellegrini. This is Bloomberg.